Yeah, Sarah was like, I'm trying to explain.
I did that,
this to you."
Carrie did that to me.
It's okay.
Recline. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Do it.
I'll try and just do a half hour.
Yeah. Did you, I was looking for, did you have the evaluations?
Yes, oh, right there in front of you. Sorry, I missed them.
Yeah. So I figure once David's done, we can just give him those and then let people take yours.
There.
I'll let him know we're a few minutes behind. If I see him.
Doesn't sound like a lot, but they have to do. Doesn't seem like a lot.
Thank you. Go down to my hands and go downstairs.
Very good, you're up there now.
Cool.
That's the book, the campaign that did Mr. Hyde.
This is not.
Just give us a quick hint.
This is.
Just seems.
Well, academic. I don't know. This is the business students or the
You know, it's undergrad, yeah, so we don't do this. You know, accountants.
This is the only classroom in this building I've ever been in that's perfect.
Yeah.
This is.
A lot of thought went into designing this.
Yeah, it's perfect in, but the setting.
Yeah.
So
I think it's, I mean, it's a little hotter than here than it should be. Because it's tied to the rest of the building. Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine, I'm always cold up here, it's always too cold.
I have a question. In the settings in Canvas, what is this grading scheme? So, wow, how did I get check on that? I think it showed, it might be some more options as to what. So your grading scheme, you can change what's an A, B, C, D, E.
Oh, it doesn't even.
I don't know.
You do point.
Right, exactly. It doesn't, I don't know that it matters.
It's not like in front of my seat. Of course, Sita.
Oh my gosh, of course.
Right.
Whatever you need.
In some, you have, when you're creating assignments, you have the option to grade them with letters instead of.
That's not less like her.
So I don't know if it plays into that, but I don't know that I've come across anyone who uses.
My feet would get so sweaty.
Oh,
Like, even now, like,
Yeah.
I don't think I ever can go back to normal.
if I'm not careful about like what I eat and drink and stuff, it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
I also have like really horrible, terrible knees that are always inflamed, so it's like red boxes.
I feel like my box, and it should be like a 2.
Yeah.
As long as I don't like roll away.
Oh, Kim,
I need to, they look
would you
really
send me
scary
the
right
date
now.
and the time?
And I still have a ways to go.
Great minds think alike.
And my
Salty
syllabus.
lunch, like I usually don't have salty lunch.
That would help,
So I have like,
Just to see.
because on the surface, it doesn't look like good numbers has a lot to do with what you're talking about. but Once we get.
Well,
into
what we discussed sounded perfect.
this is your distribution and stuff, right?
If things were submitted.
Are you
I
done?
need to finish, no. I'm writing the last couple chapters right now. I've
How
been
many
very
pages are you
slow.
at right now?
Believe it if you want some.
What page
No,
number?
how many pages are you at? Too many?
Oh my gosh, I'm not even sure. Gosh,
when I've broken it, like, they're all, right now, each chapter is a different Word document, because that's just helps me. I can't, when it becomes too many pages, like, you just can't like scroll through like 50 pages to get to.
Right.
I'm like, okay, for me, it was easier to break it out into Word documents, each chapter, and so, I don't know, all of them together, yeah, it'd be hard to have it all together at once.
I put it all
I
together.
might be at 60 or 70 right now, and I still have 2.5 chapters.
Yeah, exactly, and I
Looks like you wanna finish this year.
Yes, oh my gosh, I have been working on this for way too long. I collected my data. Really?
Yeah, and I think that was
Pretty good. With
purposeful.
appendix.
It was purposeful that I did it that way because of the genre of it and like the end product that I was hoping to get into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I collected my data like 2 years ago, so I didn't get time. I should be done.
There isn't a syllabus in here, what do you mean?
Yeah, I gotta ask them when we have time.
The one, if you scroll up,
Oh.
Probably go ahead.
it's the wrong
The
class.
thing is started.
Yeah, well, the
Me
short,
too, I know. Keep us from getting too
Yeah.
far off.
So like we can't even publish
Let's
it
get started.
as is.
People wander back in. I'm first gonna pass around a handout that I have. So, like Amy mentioned, so I'm in the middle of writing the last 3 chapters of my dissertation. I started a PhD program that was out at the University of Minnesota in a learning technologies program in curriculum and instruction, and so what I wanted to do is sort of share with you a little bit about what I've been immersed in during the last couple of years, but more importantly, I think those key takeaways that are actionable that you can kind of maybe learn a little bit from what I've been doing, but taking that and being able to implement some things in your course that could help your students. The way that I arrived at this topic was I had been teaching online for about 3 years, and I just kept noticing, and they were fully online classes, and I just kept noticing students say, oh, well, I'm sorry, I just forgot. I just totally forgot about this class. I forgot I even had an assignment. I forgot. And I kind of sometimes would try and, when I had opportunities to have conversations with students, like, why do you think you forgot, or what can we do? And I don't know, I just forgot. I don't go to class, and so I forgot. And so I kind of, it started to become sort of a trend that I was seeing, and then the more I started reading, this is, it's a little bit of a hot topic, I think, in online education, as we've started to become, the enrollment in online ed is growing, and we're starting to get, really good at online education, but that doesn't necessarily mean that our students sort of know how to adapt from the face-to-face environment to the online environment, and how they're sort of grappling with that, and how they're sort of managing that and that learning. So that's kind of how I arrived at the topic. Bless you. Let's see. So today's goal is really just I want to go through what is motivation, what is self-regulation, just very briefly identifying what that means. I want to identify with all of you what are some of the common challenges or struggles for online students. What have you experienced with your online students? And then highlighting some of those strategies for encouraging self-regulated learning, for encouraging motivations, trying to increase some of that to hopefully make more successful students in our online courses. So this is, of course, super brief definitions. Motivation is more of that activation. It's the persistence. It's the desire to pursue that goal or a task. The self-regulated learning, these two are very, motivation, self-regulation, they're partners. They're kind of, one is the construct of the other. It's a very active participation in your own learning process. I, of course, have written ad nauseum about the difference between these and what they all are, but we don't have to go over that today. Can anyone?
Are there important differences between the two?
Not really. Not for our purposes, no. I don't even think there's really important
Well, I'm a
differences between
philosopher,
the two.
so this kind of.
There you go.
Yeah, let's go into it. Does anyone have guess as to what the biggest question I get though, when I talk about motivation, is what's the difference between motivation and engagement? What is the difference? That's such a huge question.
I would say motivation comes from internally, the engagement is more competitive, that's external
Peer
competitive.
pressure can have intrinsic
Pressure,
or extrinsic motivation. I mean, there's external things you can do to force people to
Exactly.
feel
What's your
motivated.
motivation tied into why you're taking the class in the first place?
Right, it's kind of,
like a
it's that
pretty-
drive.
Yeah.
And the best analogy that I've heard is when you think about hunger and eating. I'm super hungry. I'm really motivated to go out there and eat lunch. I'm like really hungry right now. So I really want to go. The engagement is the actual doing. I'm eating my lunch now. I was really motivated to get out there and grab lunch, and now I'm sitting here stuffing my face. I'm super engaged. So
Like our
that,
students.
yeah, that's kind of the best analogy that I've heard. And then when I think about it in the online environment, then okay, then what's that carrot that's out there for them that's pulling them back into your course? How do we get them to not forget that they're even taking an online course? They don't have, there's no attendance. We're not going to class every day. They don't have to sit here and listen to me drone on and on. What are we doing to get them to kind of, oh yeah, I really need to log in. I can't forget about that, and to go in and then be engaged. And they're obviously very connected. If I'm engaged, then I kind of want to maybe go back in later. But anyway, that's
In terms of
Which is
use the
great.
carrot,
huh?
you use the word carrot, I mean, it's no psych major took a whole course in motivation. You also use the stick. The carrot and the
Like
stick.
carrot out there.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's the grade, there's their
Yeah.
ultimate, you know.
Exactly. And then
Carrot.
all the different types of motivation. What are those external motivators, internal motivators? Yes, such a big, huge topic. On the back of the handout, because you can kind of follow along on the handout where I'm going, but on the back of it, I just pulled out 4 key articles, references that if you do want to dive into this more, those are some good places to start. But yes, such motivation I think is just fascinating, huge field, really fun. So let's go into why it's important. So self-regulation includes these 4 and include a lot of other ones too, but independence, self-direction, prioritization, responsibility. These, through tons and tons of research, have been found just these key ideas that a successful online student, if you look at a student in your class who's very successful, odds are they have a high degree of most of these sort of ideas. So that's why it's really important. And it's, we put our class out there, okay, here's all this, in a fully online class. This is all the stuff you need to do this week. Just go and do it. And it's, we don't have that kind of built-in face-to-face time that students are used to. So when you think of the K-12 environment and how they've grown up, what they're used to is very different than how they kind of need to adapt. And okay, I need to stay on task this week. I don't have anyone sort of like really, okay, wake up, get engaged. I don't have anyone doing that. And so, kind of how do we adapt to that, and how are our students adapting? This is an article that I listed on the back of the handout, but it's one of my favorite quotes, is that teachers should ensure they fully utilize the benefits afforded by online environments, which there are plenty, right? Such as flexibility. When you talked about that, that's a main reason why people are taking online courses. It's flexible. There's so many benefits. But at the same time, while carefully designing for the development of self-regulatory skills. And so it is sort of a design piece that goes into your course. How can I set things up so that the students can sort of, gain some of these skills? So I want to hear from you a little bit. What challenges do you think that your students are encountering, that you hear from students or that you notice?
One of the things that's kind of surprising to me, I just teach at the graduate level, so it's a little bit different, but they come into it knowing it's an online class or an online program, and yet they still want to be spoon-fed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and have you, they'll post or send, so fast to send me an email, hey mom, where do I do this? Hey mom, I can't find my clean shirt, mom, and so they're emailing me as mom, which you feel like you're the mom of these 52 students all the time who are grown ass adults. And, I couldn't find the instructions for this assignment, I'm like, really, there's a button that says, assignment instruction. And so it's so frustrating and I used to go through and tell them, and I thought, no, I'm gonna send you to where the instructions actually are, look in the modules, there's a tab, find it, and so that gets really frustrating, I think.
Yeah.
Because it
time consuming.
and time consuming, and my thought is at a graduate level, you ought to be beyond this, looking for mom to show you everything, where your soccer shirt is,
Exactly, and that's a good point that, it's not just, sometimes I think, we can just assume that it's a brand new freshman or a first time, higher ed student, someone's coming to college for the first time, and you can't really assume that that's the person that we need to be working with. It sometimes runs the gamut, and it really is a grad student too, so.
I think too, we've done more with our pre-launch of the course and then integrating Canvas, but that social presence and cognitive and process, I really try to get them engaged in a little activity that forces them to explore Canvas a little bit right at the start, so that they're not constantly bombarding you.
Like, can you say a little bit more about that? Like, what are some of the things that you do?
Scavenger hunt or?
One thing is like, we have an activity where it's create a profile page in Canvas, and then they learn how they're gonna post a picture, what are they gonna say, are they gonna create their online identity? But it creates it forces them through Canvas, and then it's like, here's the question mark, here's where you look up the student guide, here's how you're gonna engage in a discussion, or here's how you're gonna find your team page. Now you're gonna post a link on your team page to your profile page, that kind of thing.
So it's like an activity that you have very specific tasks that lead them through Canvas that they have to do?
Yes.
Ooh, we can share that.
Yeah.
What I started doing too is like kind of the 3-strike kind of thing. I want you to look at 3 other resources to find the answer before you come to me.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Whether it's searching through Canvas, calling the help desk, checking in with another student,
Yeah.
your mother, Google, somebody, you know what I mean? And then come and ask me, if you have exhausted all your textbook or whatever, that has helped to reduce the massive amounts of email, hey mom kind of thing, a lot.
That's an excellent idea, an example of something you can just do, just some sort of, maybe a small policy in your, I want you to exhaust these options before you come to me. Little things that are kind of scaffolding the students to, okay, I'm gonna find this stuff on my own. I'm gonna go out and do this on my own.
Oh, I can say that. I guess my biggest assumption about what the challenge might be is like students having the time to just be in the classroom. So I'm assuming that students that are taking online classes might have a lot on their plate, like a lot of our students who take the face-to-face classes do. So, working late at night, working after work, working at weird hours. So just being present with the material, I guess, would be what I anticipate the biggest challenge.
And a lot of kind of that time management, so if it's not this structured, these are my classes during the day and I'm here all day long on campus. Finding the time to get in there and finding enough time to get in there and engage with the content.
I feel like just a lot of the things people are saying, it seems like a challenge is that connection, like feeling connected to the community is that's a challenge. Because if you don't feel invested and connected, maybe you're less likely to engage.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the problems, when is it due? So if it's due at midnight on Wednesday, look at the time.
11:59.
Exactly.
And we have to stipulate, MST, like we can't.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I've tried to get away from that. I tell them, look, I'm not going to do that unless,
It's a problem. Yeah.
And I'll, especially in the summer, and our students do work, I want to give them, benefit of the doubt. Of course, one of the things in the threaded discussion, they'll have like 5 topics this week. They're not in ethics. What is the difference between ethics and morals? Okay, now there's a lot of different ways that you go. So they're not that difficult, but the students have to go in, they have to think about it, they have to post it. And one of the things that I put in there is I hereby certify that I've read the syllabus and I understand what is asked of me. And I say, if you have any questions, ask here. Virtually every student will have at least one question. Oh, I don't understand this.
These are great, yeah.
So I had one student who hadn't turned work in, and I had sent multiple emails, and I finally sent an email to her Gmail account saying, are you dropping the class or what? And she responded within like an hour. And so, I get really confused, and it gets very complicated, all the different emails that they have, and it seems like they're not, so many of our students don't necessarily use their UC Denver email regularly.
They can set their Canvas settings up to send it to their Gmail.
You would think.
I think it's
yeah.
great you even have the Gmail that you
It's
could
great
ask,
that
that
you
you
have
could
that,
fall back
yes.
on, because sometimes it is, you have the university email. How else do I even get in touch with a student?
And I
It's all
wonder
very
how much
difficult.
is my responsibility to go look for whatever email. I figure,
I require them to use their UCD.
Yeah, we put that in our
syllabus.
How
Setting
I got-
your expectation.
But then what
Back then,
happens?
They got a 0 for an assignment because they never contacted me. And boy, they were on the email very fast once they saw they got it out.
But what happens when you have that student that you've been trying and trying and trying? Is it better to just let them fall away? Or is it better to take the extra effort to reach out? Because I bet after you did that, got that student engaged. So it's like, it's this,
They
see
your effort now.
yeah, it's so hard because no, you shouldn't have to do that.
right.
But is it worth it to do that? And I don't
These
know.
are such,
Yeah.
yeah. These are,
I think from the beginning, what I said, I'm gonna use Canvas. So any communication will go through Canvas. So you need to check your school email because I'm not sending emails to personal people. I just go on Canvas because I don't have time to go one-on-one.
Well, they can set it up.
And it's like from the beginning, and this is my syllabus. If you don't do it, that's your problem because we gotta babysit them.
Yeah. That's
Right.
great.
Well,
Yeah.
The UCD email is good, but the inbox in Canvas is even better. Yeah, I put that right on the syllabus. Here's how you get in touch. Here's my office phone, here's my email. I stay away from email because I've had some problems with it, but the inbox, and I really haven't had any problems.
and it encourages them to go into Canvas even more,
Right.
if that's where the messaging is.
One issue that I've noticed in classes I've taken, I don't teach much, just solely online, but I think it's gonna get to that time management piece.
Yes, yeah.
Do you guys, I mean, like, we had students in our group who would sort of like front end everything, so they would like do whatever they're gonna do for the class at the beginning of the week.
Yep.
And then like they would never, like they wouldn't re-engage.
Yep.
Until like the next, which is really awkward. Like it just didn't facilitate dialogue, you know what I mean?
Exactly, these are all such excellent, yes, all of this is kind of wrapped up into, let's get into some of these, like, so what do you do then? Because all of these challenges, these are some of the biggies that I've found, read about, personal experience or whatnot, or through research and everything. It's just, I kind of try to group them up into different categories. So first there's like a learning style challenge. There's, recognizing your own. Sometimes it's hard to recognize in ourselves. Okay, so I sort of do need to change my strategies now that I'm online. And sometimes that's hard to look at ourselves and realize that, and hard to realize that in general. Recognizing those obstacles that are there for you online and how to adjust. I have all intentions of going on to my course, but then I got onto Instagram and then Facebook, and I was checking my email, and I had this and that. We've all been there, what was I doing? I completely forgot. There's a time management and prioritization. This is a real biggie. It's because we value this flexibility. That's what's so great about online ed. But it can be really challenging because it still requires you to prioritize. to have even more time management and self-direction. And this is really not to say, I think that students, when in a fully face-to-face class, I'm sure you all taught too, that they're just kind of swimming along perfectly, and they all have these similar challenges. Sometimes they're just a little more amplified online. And then some of this isolation, like you were talking about, it can be very isolating to take a fully online class, and you haven't met anybody else in your class. You haven't even met your instructor. Do you even know what anyone else looks like? It's hard to make that very personal connection and not feel alone when you don't have any of those avenues to connect with anybody else. So let's go right into some of these strategies, because I think that you're all touching on some of this already. So one of the big strategies is lots of opportunities for feedback loops. And when we're talking about loops, it's not just kind of, okay, I'm giving you feedback, but there's the loop part of now there's an opportunity for the student to take the feedback, go the next time and improve. And so it's, there's a couple different ways, the continuous feedback between the instructor and the student, whether it's formal feedback through the assessments, whether it's just kind of a check-in, how's everything going, mid-semester, here are some areas for improvement. Also between student and student, and this is where a lot of that group work comes in too. Let's getting feedback from each other, and how can I improve, and how can we kind of make things work together. The student self-assessments and reflections I really like what, even just at the beginning of an online course, or maybe in the middle, maybe it's just a very brief kind of, 5-minute write. And this is actually something that I've done with some students online, where my instructions are very explicit. You have your phone with you, I'm sure. Take your phone, set the timer for 5 minutes. I want you to just write on this page, write on this discussion board, write on this blog post. Just write for 5 minutes. Don't worry about anything. I just want you to respond to insert something here. It could be about the content. It could just be about how are things going? How are things going in this class for you? What are your struggles? How are you feeling? What's going on? Just to kind of for lack of a better term, kind of like a word vomit onto the, just like set your timer. It's 5 minutes of your time, and just that self-processing and realizing, now I'm sort of seeing, maybe I do need to sort of set myself, my time better this week, because I'm noticing that that's where I'm struggling, just kind of that self-realization.
Do you have the students do that? Do you have it in a discussion, or just they do it on their own?
So anywhere really, it kind of depends on how you want to use it. A discussion forum, others could see it, and it might not be as honest. So probably not a discussion forum. Using a blog post, or even just a Word document.
You do a quiz in Canvas with an
quiz
essay
in
box that
Canvas.
has a 5-minute
An
timer.
ungraded quiz.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, because I think it's helpful for you to see that in product as the instructor, so you can see, where are students? What are they thinking? Oh, okay, I really noticed this person over here is really struggling with X, Y, Z. I'm going to be aware of that. But yeah, I like that. Yeah, because I keep going to, an old system I used had a blog feature that everyone could do a private blog, but just an ungraded quiz, just one question, essay question.
The question would be the essay, to drop down would be the essay, right?
Yeah.
Yep, and you can make it, my instructions of setting the timer on your phone, just make the quiz timed. It's just a 5-minute quiz.
I guess you could do it like a survey.
Yeah.
You get
Exactly.
multiple choice questions.
Or if you wanted to just give credit for it being done, you could just set it so it's worth 5 points, and if they complete it,
Just that they did it, yeah.
Just that they
I
did it.
found that it's not worth anything.
Then
and
sometimes
those
they don't do
exactly,
it.
They don't do it,
True.
and you don't have any recourse to make them.
Yep,
Right.
exactly.
Just the kind of incomplete, complete, check it off the list. But I think that's really helpful for sort of realizing their own learning, management, and kind of regulation struggles that they might be going through. But then there's also sort of using the activities for learning, not necessarily for grades, again, something that's just a complete and complete. The matching, drag and drop, using the video quizzes and relay, those are all feedback loops, kind of built into how you're designing your content. It's a way to, it's a feedback loop, not necessarily with another individual. It's a feedback loop with the content. And that's why it's great to use some of those interactive elements, a little more low stakes, that it's just, and I agree with what you're saying too. If it's not required, no one's gonna do it. Just a one point, complete incomplete sort of activity. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What's the first one? Continuous
This one, the continuous feedback loop. This was the loop between the instructor and the student between student and peer. Feedback loop meaning, that goes back to sort of a check-in with each other. How are things going? This is kind of how you could improve the next time around.
Okay.
Kind of giving that, looping it, using the feedback, but looping it so that, you know, we have a similar assignment next week. Why don't you try this? So it's kind of giving them that kind of shove in the right direction, a little bit of motivation is kind of what you're looking for.
Kind of what Beth was talking about asking the students to go back to their feedback from the previous assignment to then improve it on the next one. Like, so it's not just that I give you feedback and then it goes away. It's like I give you feedback, you give me more of whatever you're doing, I give you more feedback, and continuous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's get into this time management thing because I think it's really big. So couple different areas within this. One is more of a kind of a, you know, just a planning process. Let's talk about maybe a single project that you have in your course. It should take them a couple weeks to complete, but you have a student and they probably just, you know, did it in 30 minutes before it was actually due. Kind of that, you know, submitting it the very last minute, that sort of planning process. A couple strategies are maybe assignment check-ins. That could also be an ungraded quiz, a survey. Where are you in your process? What's your plan? How are you, you know, what do you plan on accomplishing this week for your assignment? Maybe it's the introduction paragraph. Maybe it's just an outline of your paper or your project. Another way that I think is really helpful is using the peer review. And I love peer review for a variety of reasons. Of course, it's a great learning process between the two people, but it's also a great way to get people to start on their assignment before it's due. Because, okay, so we have this peer review process that's happening, say, a week before it's due. You gotta have something ready, you know, and even if it's just some sort of a very rough draft, we want to be able to engage in that peer review process. You gotta have something ready so that at least sets up a way that they won't be completing this assignment at the very last second. They've at least had to do something for this previous peer review exercise. So there's just different ways of scaffolding some of these. Okay, let's try and get away from the, yeah, I've logged in, I, you know, just kind of do everything at once and then I don't even think about this course for the rest of the week. Another time management is that personal goal and personal deadline setting. So a couple of tips that you can just make aware to your students of just using the calendar in Canvas. Get all of their assignments are there, but you can also add your own items to your calendar. That, you know, if you have a plan for your assignment, how you're going to complete that assignment and when you're going to complete what, add that to your calendar. Maybe it's the Canvas calendar, maybe it's your personal one that you keep too. One student that I've talked to in the research that I collected, this was the most fascinating one, is he said, I have a calendar. It's, you know, it's like the kind of the paper calendar. I take that to class with me. I have all my assignments and stuff on there. Is that, but my problem is that I don't write down the stuff in there that's due for my online course. Like, he keeps an actual calendar for his face-to-face courses, does nothing for the online course, doesn't write anything down in the calendar at all. And that was a big, you know, I forgot. I knew I had this other thing due. I did that. I didn't do this. I totally forgot about it. And so it's just some of that, you know, if there's any tips, any advice that we can lend our students about, okay, you know, just pretend that this is sort of a face-to-face course. So that gets into my second point. It's actually it's a strategy I've heard over and over from students that seems to work a lot. Pretend, just pretend. So in your calendar, you have, you know, I have biology on Mondays at 9 o'clock. Great, that's your face-to-face course. When's your online course? Set aside that time every single week. You know you have, say, a couple hours on Tuesday, a couple hours on Thursday. That's my time. It's in my calendar. And not only is it a time, but think about your face-to-face course. You go to a certain spot every week, right? Can you do that for when you work on your online course? You know, where do you work best? Is it a corner of the library? Maybe it is at your kitchen table. Maybe it's in your bedroom. You know, it's like wherever it's best for you. That's your place. That's your time. Go there. Pretend that that's class that you're going to, and that just here what I've heard from students, it seems to help a lot that they can sort of, okay, I need to equate this more with what I do in face-to-face. Yeah.
I noticed that you have Canvas Basics for students. Is this part of what is in that course, and is that something that can be put into our courses? Like a Canvas Basic sort of video training, video module that we could pop in?
I don't, it's more of a like how to use Canvas itself.
But that's an interesting perspective.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
It's
like
a great idea.
skills for online students.
The online student success course that I developed, and this might be an interesting module to place in there. We talk about what it's like to be an online student, and part of that is the time that you're going to have to commit, and what does that look like, and how can you factor that in. But something a little more pointed, I think, might to call this out, so it doesn't get buried, would be very important, so.
I think that's an excellent idea, because it's more just about knowing how to use the technology. There's a lot of this that would be helpful.
The student success course, is that something that an instructor can get and move into their own Canvas shelf? They wanted their students to do it?
It's a public link, so you can share this link with your students. I send it out in the orientation email, so when a student registers for an online course, they don't get this email immediately, but we send it out before the semester starts, and it has a link to that course in it. So we have a little over 400 students that are currently in this course right now, and it just launched last fall. So it's not required, it's just an FYI, here's something that you can go through at your own pace, have it on your course homepage as a resource, but definitely something that I can send out to faculty should you be interested.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yes.
One of my programs had a 1-credit course that you had 4 weeks to complete that was just about the tech pieces. You had to finish at the beginning of the program.
Okay.
Because we would have grad students who, like, you expect them to know, but they were like,
Just don't.
I don't send emails. Like, but I'm in an online program.
Yeah, but it's another excellent example. You know, it's just, you just kind of got to get complete this, and we maybe tend to look too much towards the tech piece. We really got to get these students up to speed on the tech, but I think, like you're saying, that maybe there's some areas to really include some of these tips where think about this, because this is, what you might be experiencing, and it might be sort of challenging if this is, especially if this is your first online course. So here's some things to think about. I think that's a great idea. Something you can do is on a module homepage. So you likely have your module set up for the whole week. Do you have a homepage that introduces students to what's going on that week? And in that homepage, if you have that, is a sort of a checklist. Maybe it's kind of off to the side or at the very top, kind of a week at a glance. So a student anytime can kind of go back, maybe they copy it down in their calendar or their notebook, but maybe they just going back to that, and they can glance, okay, I know I have these 5 things. I have 2 of these readings, I have to watch this video, I have a discussion post, and I also have to submit my draft. It's just a very quick checklist, and that's also something that students like to see. Just this is super brief. You can explain a lot more later in the module, throughout your homepage, however you also want to kind of build that out later, but just those very brief, yes, chapters 1, this video right here, first discussion post.
Now, I break down my class in week-by-week modules. Now, does Canvas have a to-do checklist? Because students are saying, I'm in classes and it automatically pops up to-do list for this week.
They've said that within Canvas, or?
That's what they said.
Oh, so yes, I know what to-do list, that's gonna pop up on the side of Canvas for them. It's populating from the calendar, which is populating from the assignments. That's the to-do list that pops up for them. This would be a different to-do list, because that list is only being populated from actual assignments that are coming up, not readings that they need to complete, videos that they need to watch, multiple discussion posts that they need to do.
So it's, when you go in, it gives you the option. Is this a content page? Is this a discussion? Is this an assignment? So what the to-do list is just
Content page.
content page
No,
or
it's-
assignment?
I'm sorry.
It's what it's doing, anything that has
Oh,
a
you're
due
asking
date.
the,
Anything that has a due date on it, it pulls that due date from the course calendar and puts that on a to-do list. So if you have stuff that doesn't have a due date attached, it won't pop up there.
Okay, yeah, that confirms what I thought.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Because I didn't think there was a to-do list, it was just assignments, and that clarifies.
But you could have a to-do list on what she's saying on the homepage of each module, you have a to-do list, you can even link that directly to each thing. You
Well,
can-
I call it, the week assignments, but you know what, I'm gonna change it to a to-do list.
Sure,
What's the
either
to-do list
way.
For June 5th through 11th.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and because
whatever
I think
whatever
it
that is.
expands beyond the assignments that you're doing that week, it also includes, the readings or anything else that they should be doing that week, and so, I think that it's
See, to me, that's an assignment.
a reading,
The
yeah, true.
to-do list makes more sense from the
Yeah.
students. You want, they,
Because of what
recognize it.
Canvas does, because of the way that a Canvas assignment is a very specific thing, that even though it's an assigned reading, Canvas doesn't read it as an assignment.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Right.
You can give them a
Yes.
5-question quiz, reading quiz, so as an assignment. And then that way,
True.
if they're gonna take that quiz, they'll have to have read it.
Pops up on that would pop up on their to-do list if you had a quiz after each reading.
There's also the kind of prerequisites that you can build into your module. You have to complete these items in order within your module. You have to complete this before moving on to this, before moving on to that. Those are all settings within your modules that you can set up. So just another way to kind of scaffold that as well.
We're happy to show you that
Yeah.
later when we have time, if that's something that interests you that you don't know how to do.
Another big one is this idea of accountability, and this is something that I've heard a lot with students too. Is part of the value of the group work is that accountability, because we're not going to class and I don't have a way to escape my partner Amy here. I haven't done my work and I have to sit next to her, and there's no way to actually escape that. There's kind of that accountability piece. I don't want to be embarrassed in class, but online it's a little bit harder to hide, right? And but building in some of that group work builds in some of that accountability, whereas having that partner or whatever the activity or assignment or assessment might be. It's also building enough time in those assignments or those projects for the relationship building part. We gotta get to know each other a little bit. So I kind of feel, maybe friendly with you, and then I really don't want to let you down because I like you, and I feel kind of, like we're friends. I don't want to let you down. I gotta pull through and do my piece. So that's kind of scaffolding a little bit of that effort regulation on their part. Another thing with groups is having buy-in from every member in the group. Some of the best ways to motivate people are to let them set their own goals. It's a goal that's meaningful to them. This is something that I really want to achieve. I've set this out as something that our group is going to achieve or that I'm going to achieve. And so sometimes when I set up groups at the beginning of the semester, they're groups that are going to be working on various projects. What's your group charter? How are you going to communicate with each other? What are your goals with each other for this, assignment XYZ? And then put that down on paper, either in a wiki page or a Google Doc. It's there. We've all kind of agreed and put in our input into it, and we've created this goal for ourselves. And just in having students create their own goals makes it more meaningful, makes it a little bit more motivating. So those are just a couple strategies with the peer accountability. Again, this goes back to the goals. In topics or assignments, not just for groups, for individuals, what topic really interests you? And how can designing your assignment so that a student can take anything that is super interesting to them, that they're really passionate about, and they can still get at this assignment, they can still accomplish what you want them to accomplish, but they're able to bring their own choices into that. and their own topics into that they're passionate about, and that makes it much more motivating for them as well. And again, the group part, that was kind of a duplicate down there, kind of agreeing upon the shared goals, even shared assessments. I've also heard of instructors setting up groups to where the groups decide how they're going to be graded. This is how I'd like to be graded on this. Just giving them that autonomy and that voice in it. Not that you have to then grade each group completely differently, but they've given their input to you. You can kind of take some of those pieces and incorporate it however you'd like. It kind of gives them a little bit more voice in their learning, and it really helps with that motivation piece. And then of overcoming isolation, we've kind of talked about this, I think, for the past 3 days a lot, is that deliberate space for interaction with each other. Video is so key to this too, that I can actually see you. I can see you talking. Even especially for an instructor, I think to put yourselves out there and to be as authentic as you possibly can in your video. Students perceive that, they can sense that, they start to sense the kind of instructor that you are, the kind of person that you are. It helps in your interaction with each other, it helps in their communication with you. Just being able to put yourself out there, just as if we were, again, in a face-to-face class, that they can really see that. I had one student who told me she loved, her instructor did videos every week, kind of just introducing the week, and this is what we're doing. She said, I never ever thought that in an online class I could tell like the teaching style of an instructor. She said, I know his teaching style. And that was interesting, that you can still get that online. It's just kind of having to build in these certain video and interactive qualities. Using the small learning groups, using informal discussion forums, having a discussion forum that's open all semester long. This is just the open Q&A. Anyone can ask a question, anyone can answer. Just, again, great sort of community building, and not to feel so completely isolated. Like, I don't see anyone. I also don't even know who to ask. I don't know how to ask. I don't know how to get in touch with these people. Just having something, that communication line open. So that's basically it. That's my spiel. So you have a lot of similar stuff that we just went over on that handout. And if you have any questions, I obviously like to talk about it. So.
I have a general question.
Yeah.
Is it suggested that you have all of your modules up at the beginning of the semester?
Personally, I don't like doing that, because I'm such a firm believer in like the scaffolding, that if someone's able to kind of skip through to the very end and they're, okay, now I can maybe start on this, maybe there's something at the front end that you kind of needed to be grasped first before the end. You also get into the discussion forum area. Do you want to be participating in a discussion 4 weeks from now, when we're on this discussion right now? So
you could post home pages for each week so they can see what's coming, but not unlock any of the content too. So that they can plan ahead as far as what the work's gonna be for that week, but not unlock anything so that they can't get at it until it's time.
The model where I've seen that happen a lot is competency-based education, and it's a completely different approach from like the standard online education, because the interaction there is definitely like a mentor-mentee versus like with other students. So that's when they have everything open so that they can work at it at their own pace, and there's a little bit less community expected.
I really like the idea of opening a home page for each week, and then you can, like you say, you can see what's coming at least. And again, helping, I think, to plan their time management. I see that I have a huge paper coming in 3 weeks, so I'm gonna kind of work, maybe I switch my work schedule around, maybe I kind of alter the other things.
Can you make it to where it only opens the next module after they? I can't remember, can you do it in Canvas or DQL, when you do both?
Yes,
One
you can.
It's like, okay, two's not gonna open until you take an exam for one.
Yes.
So, makes it, because when I teach these freshman courses, my big challenge, if you want to get them to, getting freshmen to discuss things, it's a pain. They forget, they do everything, just like everything we've been talking about.
Yeah.